Hey everybody, Texas Stroker here, Alliance's Performance Shop, LoneStarMopars.com. Out here Sunday, Father's Day. It's heating up. We went from like a land of lakes to land back to the 90s and 100s, which is typically where we're at. So anyway, trying to get some stuff done. My apologies in advance if there's noise. It's not a fan. I mean, you're going to sweat my butt off for you. But it seems like everybody and their dogs come out on four-wheelers and golf carts and all kinds of crazy stuff. So anyway, we are going to pick up where we left off. We're going to wrap up the Koken segment of this recent DRPD haul. And we had that bonus item last time. I'm not going to say what it is because you need to go back and check it out. But it was sort of like a completionist video, which is super satisfying. And then the exciting item we saved there at the end, I can tell you I've already used that thing. And it was a situation where a ratchet was going to be about that much too much meat with the socket, and that thing got in there, and it saved me from having to use the open end of a wrench and dragging the process out. So that's kind of exactly what I hoped to do with it, and it worked out. So always makes you feel like you're a genius when those things line up. That said, something else that kind of makes you feel like a genius is getting cool tools that make your life easier and less stressful and less time-consuming. Some jobs, you often have fasteners in obscene locations, and it's very, very difficult to access them. And subsequently, like if it's a blind hole or you're having to go through, like, I don't know, dash pad-shaped sheet metal, through one hole to get to another one to get your fastener in type of a thing, very difficult. You usually wind up resorting to like masking tape or something. Technology has progressed and you no longer have to do that, although sometimes when you've done it enough in certain applications that does tend to still work better. But what I want to do is showcase what we need for this item, and if I'm thinking correctly, this guy right here. That's not new. We've had that for forever. It's the long one that I prefer. But what we're going to take a look at is part number RS301-5M/8-L100. Now let's think Koken here. RS. You think, those numbers don't really make sense there in the middle. And 3015, what's going on? Well, it's because we haven't unboxed any of that stuff. I haven't showcased it before. RS, is railed set. That has not changed. And if you skip over that next four-digit sequence and you think M for metric, you're correct. If you think /8 would be the number of pieces in a railed set, you're on the right target. And if you think, what in the world is L100, and you're thinking maybe like 100 millimeter length, you would totally have it right. And the 3015 is the mystery, and it is going to be 3/8 drive. Hex sockets, if you will. So if I set these down, I'm going to tell you right now, we picked these up DRPD standard price, which I think is not bad, $95.60. When I tell you what's special about these, you'll understand why that's not bad. But then again, with our like massive spring discount, it came out way less than that, so that's kind of why we jumped on it. There was actually a couple of other things I was going to do, but they were out of stock. So this is the winner, and I'll tell you why here in just a second. But what if I told you that this isn't just a bit socket set, but it's nut grip? You're thinking like, nut grip? You mean like the nut grip that everyone knows and loves and holds your bolts and they come upside down, and yeah, that nut grip. And you think, well, nut grip, these look like hex bit sockets. Well, they are. But they are in the nut grip line, and you'll see here why in just a second. I've never actually seen these. I was surprised these weren't in like a big bag, kind of like that thick, durable bag from Koken. I'm guessing this is probably how they ship them out. But if you're curious on the contents, it's probably easier to see it here for you. Once again, there's your part number, made in Japan, 345678112. So, if you're thinking, hey, is that a text message? Of course it is. Why? Because we started recording. I'm going to check it here real quick on the watch. So, we're going to back out now. It's nothing too crazy. And I'm going to tell you why $95 standard price is not a bad deal for these. And I'm going to begin with this. I want you to know, I spent about 15 minutes looking for some hardware before I started doing this video, and I came up empty. But let's take a gander. We've got 3/8 square drive. It's chamfered aggressively. I love it. We've got Koken branding. We've got the size marking quite visible. Got your standalone part number. Like, let's say you just shear one of these suckers off. Instead of just being like, yeah, I need the 12. You can literally go to them and say, hey, you know, there's the part number. You got made in Japan. You've got the hex shaft here. I've never used any of their hex stuff. That sucker is in there, though. This is not one of those deals where you have like a set screw holding it in and you can interchange, or the set screw gets loose, or the set screw falls out in a timely, or rather I should say untimely situation. So they're made quite well. They're kind of akin to like the old Armstrongs we run at work. And the cool thing is, if these ever break, you can, you know, just kind of square them off and continue using them. But that would be unfortunate for these because of that, the feature at the top. We're going to zoom in, we're going to focus, and you're going to look right there. Now you're thinking like, okay, there's a cut, there's a recess. What's the deal? Is that something in there? Is that just how the machined opening is? No, that's a spring retainer. And what that's going to do, if we had, what you got to realize, if this was SAE, we would have it. If we had a metric, you know, bolt here, you put that in, I hold it upside down, just like we would with this guy. Let me use a surrogate performance. So I got my 3/8 stainless bolt with a little 1/4 9/16 is holding it. Why? Nut grip. That's why. This is the same concept. You've seen us have similar features from VHA. They would be like the closest setup to this. Vera kind of does it differently. There's lots of different options. But this is what I kind of chose to do with our 3/8 metric. And again, here's the kicker. That L100 is the 100mm length. If I can find the Stanley, I was cleaning looking for metric hardware and things have been thrown off. You'll see that the overall shaft itself is not near that. But if we come in from the socket, it's just under the 4-inch mark. So again, think of that as like your overall length, not just the, you know, extension you're going to get. So Koken makes SAE in like one length. I don't have my catalog out here, but I want to say it's like a mid-tier, maybe 50, 63, something like that. These are going to be made in tons of lengths because they're metric and they're going to sell more of them. It's globally used as opposed to just old cool people like me and you. But what my logic was when they didn't have the size I wanted, my thoughts were, okay, if we're going to get these, it's going to be a situation where it's going to be the most cumbersome and the most and biggest impediment to locate a fastener at a greater distance. Whether these are coupled with an extension and we're going an obscene distance, whether we're just like going up through an obstruction, you know, and you kind of have to hit the fastener on and try to locate it and start it type of a thing, but you can't do it by hand. Whatever it might be, I got to thinking about it and I thought, you know, if I'm going to try these out, we just as well go for the long ones. And so that's what we did. We got the longest that they might have something longer in metric, don't hold me to that, but these are pretty good sized. And the end goal, we'll kind of try to see how we like these and then kind of elect whether we go a different route or not. They're very reasonably priced. The VHA stuff is really good too. These are like the loudest people in the world. I don't know. They let their dogs run loose. They're just bad neighbors. Anyway, it's amazing you can be that loud from that distance. But that's kind of my logic, was just to have these in place and let them go to town and be the guinea pig. And I currently don't have anything in hex bits this size in metric either, so they'll fulfill that role as well. Will the springs wear out over time? How quickly? I believe they are serviceable. You just simply replace them. And we'll kind of try to build that out as we go. Is there a size that we should fill in here? Should we drop down? Should we go bigger? I will tell you, I would not have mind having like a 2.5. It's not vital, and I could probably get by much shorter, but it's a situation where LED headlights, where you have to phase them, you know, they don't make anything like application specific. Which that's why whenever you see people put aftermarket headlights in, or the bulbs, some people's are like really crisp and clean, and you get in the car and ride with them and they're like, wow, you know, this is great, I'm going to do that to my truck. And if you go order the exact same bulbs, you've got like a similar truck, and you throw them in your housing, which hasn't changed across the model years, yours look like trash. Well, your friend indexed his bulbs, or maybe your friend didn't and you did, type of a situation. It could be a shoe on either foot there. But those are almost always like a microscopic, I want to say 2.5, and they're very prone to being lost. I know I have some because I've had to do so many bulbs, but each kind of situation you have to index it a little bit differently. That's done obviously, you know, your twist lock back here, if the beam is coming out like this and it needs to be oriented, you know, straight up and down, you've got to adjust. And then a lot of times, depending on how it's locked in, every little application seems to be different, so you have to take time, play with it. You think you have it right, you do that final twist to fully lock it, and then the beam turns again. Not good. It's gonna scatter. It's simple stuff, but it's like super annoying, and you want a high quality deal. The hex keys they send with those are just junk. Straight up Chinesium. It's the fasteners aren't good quality either. And when you put bad metal with worse metal, something's going to go wrong. So that's sort of what I would like to see. I might expand this down and quarter. You know, I don't really know of anything I'd have to do short of like, geez, plugs and stuff. But like I said, I tend to stick with my familiar territory when possible. So unless I start doing a whole bunch of like model engines or something, I think I can get by with these for now. So, and truth be told, I think the 10 and the 12 would kind of cover pretty much everything you'd see there. So with the discounts, this I felt like was a very, very worthy steal. Something I also really like here, and I'd love to know their engineering thoughts on it, but you can see like the 10, the 12, the 8, those are just full length. They're just already machined full distance. Where these taper down, typically, when you're going to break a hex bit like this, you're not going to break the little short stubby guys. You're going to break the long ones. And the smaller you go, the easier it is going to be to twist, fracture, you know, stress fracture and shear them off. I wonder how they picked their stepping points. Obviously, you do want a bit of a neck there in case you have to, like, say, go through some housing or something. So that's a win. But a lot of times, like, you would just see this 12 over here, it would be done the same way for this 3. It would just be this length all the way. And then obviously, you got a whole lot of fatigue and weak metal here. Depending on the torque load, it shouldn't be crazy. Sometimes it is. But it's kind of interesting. They seem to have picked the same spot, but you'll see, like, here, they stair-stepped it at the same height, essentially. But it's full length here, and then this one got a multi-step down. Same thing with the rest of the series. So pretty cool. If you have used these, let me know your thoughts, what you think of them. I would love to know how they've performed in the real world. And once again, my complaint, as with many things with German tools, in the case of these Japanese tools, is simply this: I wish they had more offerings in SAE. And, I really truly do. Right now, my stubby hexes, not stubby, but standard short, they are Pittsburgh. And you seem kind of leery about that. They claim it's S2 tool steel. But I'm basing that off of how well the T-handles have been. Like the quarter T-handle, I don't know how many bolts I have turned with that thing. It's usually tightening, and then of course, you know, like I do put a load on it to tighten them down. It's like transport holes and stuff. But they've just been stupid good, and that's kind of what I base that off on. Plus, you can sometimes get those things for like $4.99. So, you know, instead of going long, I thought, yeah, maybe we'll do something a little bit more recognized, I guess. But I've never used the long Pittsburghs, only the short hex drivers. So we'll see how it goes. But anyway, let's just come in here theoretically. We'll grab like a midpoint with a double tier, double step down. We'll put it on this guy, and you'll get a feel for what they can do. Again, pairs beautifully with 72 tooth Zeal. But, if we had the fasteners here, we would essentially be able to hold it. And don't just think of that like going down into a cabinet or an enclosure or a panel or something, or even like if you're anchoring a center console, you know, and you're like using trick recessed hardware to do it so you have a flush surface. Little things like that that make a difference. Think weird stuff. Okay, so you're draped over a fender and you've done the same thing. You've got some nutserts in there and you're trying to recess and hide wiring. If you're routing this through and going to make it flush, you got to come in like this. Now, do you have the space for this? Is it a situation where you kind of have to snake your hand underneath, you know, the header tubes? Maybe you have to come in underneath, you know, like an intake or a force tube. If you can get in there and do this without taking off the intake, or Lord forbid, without like dismantling a turbo or supercharger plumbing, It's going to make your life way better, and this will quickly pay for itself. Now, an obvious situation for me, I always think of the dash pads with speed nuts and everything. When you're down there under the dash, going up and over and through and around all at the same time, that's when stuff like this shines. And again, the key thing, like if we've got this bolt here and I don't have that ring, it's going to come off. Now the tape, you know, I've gotten pretty good with that over the years. It's all about the position. You want it to be sturdy enough to not fall, sturdy enough to be straight, but loose enough to let it catch and turn. That's where a spinner comes in handy if you can get to it. But with this, it's going to hold the fastener, and so if I kind of like have to reposition or shim up, or I hit my head on the heater box or something, we can just go to town and rest assured that, I mean, even if I'm doing this as I swing around under there, the fastener is going to stay put. So that is a win in my opinion. So the next item is going to be our last item. I know, it's crazy, right? You're probably disappointed, but I don't think I've ever seen a video on those, so that's kind of cool. But for this next one, we're actually going to need this. What is this? This is a filthy Hazette 916 HP. Why? Because it's still to date my favorite 1/2-inch drive ratchet. We're also going to need this, and we're going to need this. What are these, you ask? Well, this right here is 3/4 deep, and this is 19mm shallow. Essentially the same profiles, trying to appease everyone, SAE and metric. And, we are going to have a situation. Let's say that you've got your 19 on there, but you can't access a fastener. You're going to like, well, got to go deep. And you put your deep on there and you still can't get it. You've got to do something else. And what is that something else? An extension. And if you recall, let's slide these back a bit. In the past, we've done some cool things with Koken extensions, namely right here. These are Koken's beautifully done foam trays. They're from OSAAP. You have to wait a little while, and yes, there are colors people all the time wind up with red, and they're like, how did you get blue? Well, it's an option. You know, I am special, but I'm not that special. You know, and it's a deal where green, yellow, red, I've covered this ad nauseum before, but this is just a situation where, check this out, this isn't just extra thick, it's 3/8 and it's quarter. You'll note that that's a 7-piece set in quarter, and over here in 3/8 land, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces as well. The 1/2-inch foam is nuts, okay? What I've learned with these, because I have so many extra, I started buying these Wobble-Fixes before the foam was a thing, just to kind of try them out, you know? And it's a deal where I just have them in a three compartment Ernst divider, okay? And that's kind of crude and archaic, and they sling around and they roll across each other, and they're not like neatly sorted by size. Even if you do, they're gonna like wind up rolling. But that's what I've done, and the thing I like about that is it takes up less space, because I love this. The presentation is phenomenal. I love the color, obviously. I hand-picked it. I like the Koken USA being there. I like the way there's finger recesses and cutouts and everything. What I don't like is how much more this could have been compacted, okay? Like, if you really wanted to do this, if you're a cheapskate, you're going to use as little material as possible. I get it. These are centered. They've got the pad around them. They did a really nice job designing it. But I would kind of like this guy to be over here, okay? And then move all of these down where they're in line with this, and then we can lop off this much space, and I've got like an extra 5 inches in my box. Again, presentation, the aesthetic, I have no complaints. It's just the sheer amount of space these take up. The price point right now for a 1/2-inch drive Wobble-Fix extension is not bad, especially if you factor in like the 30% off we can currently get. But it's $134.02, which seems great. This, though, is the issue. Look at that foam. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've got 6. Do you see this giant void where my thumb is? Between like this little stubby, the next size. I don't know what we did there, but I'm going to bring you down, and I want to do this. So we've got the foam dimensions here. 30 millimeters thick. That's not bad. It's kind of necessary. Foam width, 254. That's a lot. That's like over 10 inches, okay? The foam length, 378. That's way more. That's like, what would we be getting to if, let's see, 100 millimeters is 4 inches, so we would be looking at, yeah, a lot. It's a like, what, 14? I mean, something absurd. Like, it might look innocent in this picture, but I assure you it is not. It is a space consumer. And the price really not that bad considering they're 1/2-inch drive extensions. I kind of think it may have come down some because I remember looking at it in the past being like, good lord. But I want you to look at this. This right here, we're about 15 inches. And then the kickoff here, you know, which that's about probably in line with what you'd have on that situation. This is 5 inches deep, both of these. Now, think about what they said. We had like a 12 something by the 14 or 15 something. So you're going to not just go double, you're going to double this and add 2 inches. So right here, this extra inch, if we doubled that, okay, let me get it right here. We'll kind of try to subset this. You've got a full 12 inches there. That is insane amount of space taken up to hold 6 extensions. Now, part of the problem is they have a really long one there. I think it was 400, 350, somewhere in that range. I better pull it back up. I don't want to mislead people, which is great. That would be a really nice extension to have, especially in 1/2 inch. But basically, we're going to have, if you look at these part numbers, luckily we can deduce them, 50, 75, 125, 150, 250. What all those have in common? Their lengths. So you're up to the 10-inch extension there. You've got, don't have a 4, but you've got basically 3, 5, and 6, and then you jump to 10, and then you've got the 400. Which, that's long, okay? So if, let's see here, 200 would be, 250 is 10, 200 would be 8, so 400 would be 16 inch. You know, 16 inch, 24 inch, those are great sizes for 1/2-inch drive extensions, but they're kind of crazy to eat up that much box space. Now, if you have the box space, if you want to dedicate like an entire pretty good sized drawer, you could put all these extensions in there, but space is at a premium for most of us, and as nice as this is, as nice as that looks, as good of a price as that is, factoring in the foam, that's kind of a good deal. Again, especially if you put a discount on top of it. I couldn't do it. Like, I was like, you know what? These are kind of already bothering me for the space they take up. They could be compacted. And, it's a situation I just had to pass on it. So what did I do instead? Well, what if I told you there's a 5-piece set that comes in a plastic tray? And what if I also told you that that sucker is going to be $160? Now keep in mind, that's DRPD's price, which is a little lower than Koken, but it doesn't reflect our discount. So we're already like $34 cheaper. Granted, that long extension would add a good chunk of that. That really is a good price if anyone was like, hey, I don't care. All I run is 1/2 inch and I would love those extensions. If you got the drawer space for it, do it. Make sure you check the dimensions beforehand. But right here from Koken, their part number, this one might be kind of weird. It's going to be a PK 4763/5PK. I don't know, maybe that's like plastic container, plastic case, who knows. But I did this, okay? And, this right here, it's a Wobble-Fix. It's not standard. Keep in mind, they will have like the same stuff in standard if you don't want Wobble-Fix or you want standard and Wobble-Fix, but I prefer Wobble-Fix, 2-in-1, best of both worlds. I love it. That's your part number once again, and if I spin this around, look at this compact size. Okay, we're going to do a comparison here in a second, but first I'm going to do this for you. So first thing first, we're coming over here because look at that. That's your set contest. You get a 50, a 75, a 125, a 150, and the 250. The only thing missing is that giant 400 millimeter one. And, that's something we could totally add, but it won't go in a case and it won't go in giant padded foam. So that said, why would we add it? Because that's a really handy extension a lot of times. Granted, I might it depends what you're doing really, but if it's like bell housing bolts, they're like impossible to get to, maybe 3/8 is the better choice, but you know, it just depends on the application. Two-way usage: one as a flexible extension bar to provide a 15-degree angle operation, the other for use as a normal extension. Again, I absolutely love these things. They're the bee's knees. There's a couple of issues I have with them, but I wouldn't trade it off. It's a slight negative versus all of the positive, if you will. And something I'm excited about here, the knurling is great on these. Some people like hate it. It looks archaic. Me personally, I like it. I like the dividers between it even because it kind of seats my fingers. If you've ever used these and you have like oily hands, not only the knurling, but also just this void between the knurling pads is kind of helpful. That's one of those weird things you kind of be like, oh, I wish that was just knurled the whole way. I think that might look better aesthetically, but after having used these and had like my hands coated, it was a deal where I was like, you know, it's kind of nice. I don't know if it was aesthetically designed by Koken this way, or if they thought, you know what, this is better. This is superior. It's going to channel oil off me, or I can seat, you know, whatever their logic was, whether it's design or functionality based, it was a win. So that's what they're talking about here is knurling design patented. Rotation and general handling of, well, okay, I should have read this. True story, I never read this the entire time that these have been here in a box because they were face down. Rotation and general handling of extensions with oily hands, okay. Is there an echo? It's greatly improved with the Koken developed 6-point knurling. Also, the Koken 6-point knurling stops the extensions from rolling around the work area. So I have had them roll. The extensions always roll oddly, but I'd never read this. I'd seen the knurling picture and everything, but hey, you know, they did a good job because it's just like I told you. So someone else has experienced the same thing. Now this is the payout right here. Look at that. Okay. These are 1/2-inch drive extensions, and they take up, I'm going to go corner to corner now back here. Let me go actually to the top. That way you'll just have to take my word for it. It's flush there. Look at this space. That's like 1 inch, and then we have all of this space. Now you're thinking like, well, wait, you've got a really long 3/8 drive extension there, buddy. What's this one? This one is going to be probably the 250, and then this one might be a little bit longer, but it's just the space savings, man. Let me set this back up. We're gonna come in here awkwardly because of tripod. Yeah, it's pretty much exactly 1 inch, we could call it, and then coming in over here just about 3 inches, and these are 1/2-inch drive bulkier extensions. It's kind of crazy. So what I'm gonna do, the Cuttix is on the other side of the shop, unfortunately, so we'll just go old school. What I know about plastic is I'm not a fan. It breaks over time, especially if it's like frequently used, or you know, you have a bad day, you throw it back in. Thing. There's sometimes cardboard, there's sometimes not inside of these. That does not have any, which is unfortunate. But what I'll probably do is foam fill this thing. If it cracks, it cracks. We'll throw it in an Ernst divider or something. But that's my plan. Always, if worse comes to worse, or if drawer space frees up, I can totally buy the foam standalone, as can you. From Koken Direct, that is a standalone thing you can do. And we could even add that 6th extension if we decide that would be nice, or maybe there's like a sale on them. Ooh, ho, 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 ho. So nice. Let's go right here to the 125. Dadgum. You can see what I'm talking about. As you get into a larger drive size, you might not appreciate this in quarter. I noticed it with the 3/8 stuff, but 1/2-inch, I mean, we've got like a groove here where like almost, you know, a good, what, 1/5 or so of your finger can kind of get in there. And again, it really does help. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the Hazette. Why? We don't have a Koken 1/2-inch drive. Also want to highlight, these are chamfered, awesome. Every side has the detent compatibility with another ratchet. Check. Man, I tell you, this HP, it's tough to beat. But right here, standard extension. Okay, we can come in, we can turn it, everything's fine, it's fixed. There's your idea of the play, most of it coming over here from the joint. Pull this out a step. Again, 15 degrees. That's a big difference. This is kind of, you come in at an angle and you go to town, and you're able to just tighten or loosen, get it started. Put the finishing touches on it, maybe if you're like spinning it with a stubby, whatever it might be. And that is what I love about the Wobble-Fix. So the plan with Koken, what I think I'm going to do on their 1/2-inch, I really want to hold out for the flex head. But if I pull the trigger prior to, I turned in a massive order last night to Koken USA, like big. I don't know how exciting people will think it is, but it's pretty cool. And no, it's not me completing socket sets this time. They did not have either of the 1/2-inch Zeals in stock, but I'm kind of thinking of going ahead, getting the longer one with the push button. I think that's what I decided to do. Why? This. That's kind of, for me, like, this is kind of the be all end all for standard fixed head ratchets. We're going to come in here with the 250, and right there is a really good look at the Wobble-Fix if you're unfamiliar with it. We're about to time out there in a few seconds, so I went ahead and did it. We're going to take the 19. Like I said, I'm going to appease everyone. You can see here, what is this on my... It's kind of like something, it feels like, I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like when you get tape on your fingers, you know? I guess maybe it's on me. I don't know. Anyway, we'll figure it out, and we'll oil these down or something maybe. But this is your fixed extension, again. Super nice, Koken on Koken. Finger test, pulling good. Now we're 15 degrees. Again, just the best of both worlds. Typically, you know, like as a kid growing up, you had your extensions that were just standard, and then if you wanted wobble extensions, you had to buy them. They were extra, and you didn't have a 2-in-1. You had a wobble and a standard, and this is a 2-in-1, and it saves space, cuts down your purchases. I fully support you purchasing standard extensions as well, but this is a deal where you could free yourself up to, say, instead of maybe getting just standard extensions, you could get locking extensions to pair with your Wobble-Fix, and you've sort of like covered 3 things in 2, if you will. So you have to take advantage of technology when you can. Now, the tray dimensions itself, since we made a big deal about this foam, let's talk about the plastic tray. We'll call that like 3 3/4. Go ahead and call it 4 if you want to. Maybe the base is a bit wider, and this is dadgum near 11.5, but we go over, so basically 11 5/8. It's nothing crazy, and the height is actually a little bit less. I don't think this would matter to anybody, but it's pretty much an inch. So 2 cool new things from Koken. 3/8 and 1/4 made sense to me, and I think they were, I think the half wasn't available at the time. There is like a massive chunk of foam that has like everything. And I haven't priced it out. I think it might be a good buy, but again, it's just, do you have the space for the foam? And if you do, like, this is, I'll tell you right now, like, this does not bother me. I prefer obviously black and blue. This is epic. Like, this is chef kiss perfect, right? It's just a situation, it could be compacted. I know aesthetically that wouldn't look as cool if it was compacted down some, but you kind of get to a point where it's just like, man, this would fit, you know, like, or we could stage it a little bit better if it was just done slightly differently. So that is the haul. That is what we picked up. This concludes the Koken portion of our DRPD haul. Now, is the DRPD haul done? Absolutely not. We've got another one coming your way. It's going to be really cool. Some stuff I don't believe you've ever seen before. So at least I haven't. So unless you've, I haven't had much free time recently, but I've never seen it, and I'm leading myself to believe that if I haven't seen videos on it, there's a good chance most of you haven't either. So I'm kind of excited. Plus, there's one item I really want to get out of the bag so I can use it. And I nearly did that. Like, it's been sitting there for, geez, 3 weeks now. Like, I've wanted to open it multiple times that I've been out here for little 30-minute stints. I've held off doing it for your enjoyment, so we can have like a initial impression. But once that thing's open, it's going right into use. So with that said, that's what we did. If you have the 1/2-inch drive Wobble-Fix, how do you like them? Do you have any issues between the sizes? Does 1/4 wonderful, but you hate 3/8 and 1/2 for some reason? If so, why? If you're not a fan of the Wobble-Fix, do you prefer straight extensions? Do you get them from Koken? Do you buy them elsewhere? Similarly, what are your thoughts on the foam? Do you agree with me? Like, it's kind of ridiculous. Are you the type of person that you don't care if it's foam, you're all about it? Keep in mind, like, you could do the foam yourself. You could, you know, kind of draw out what you want, send it in. Tons of places are doing that now. I love what they did. It's just, it takes up a little more space than I would like. And in the case of the 1/2-inch, it was going to be like egregiously bad. So I bailed. And like I said, if we want to add on to that or go with the foam at a later date, maybe I upgrade boxes, we have more space, or, you know, we make like a dedicated drawer for extensions or something weird. We can revisit that when it comes, because again, you can, if you had every one of these extensions except for this, and you're like, man, you know, I wish I would have known they were going to do that foam set, that's really cool, you can buy the standalone foam and the standalone 50. So keep that in mind. It's just something to kind of enhance your serviceability factor there. But yeah, I think I'm going to wrap this up, get the fan back on for a few minutes, cool off, and hit record again so we can get another box out of the floor. That's the other thing, if you've used, it's very similar again to Viha's Magic Ring. If you have used the Koken nut grips on these drivers, let me know how you like them, how they've held up, how they compare to other things if you've used other things. So again, eventually we'll probably kind of compare, contrast the brands. This is just a tool haul, and obviously I need some seat time with these. I could get way better of a feel for these if they had them in SAE sizes outside of the one length, which is not really the length I was hoping for. I'm not gonna lie. But anyway, I'll quit rambling. I do hope you enjoyed. I hope you're having yourself a fantastic weekend. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. As always, leave a comment with your thoughts, opinions, and expertise. It'll help other people out. That, of course, is the end goal. Everything is linked down below. I don't make a dime from DRPD. Don't make a dime from Koken. I do that solely for your convenience. Sometimes it's difficult to track down things without like a direct link. So, you know, there, saved you time. You're welcome. If you appreciate that, or you just enjoy the entertainment, by all means, I encourage you to subscribe. If you subscribe, ring the bell while jumping your charger across a creek while holding your nut grip socket and fastener and it doesn't come out, YouTube just might notify you. We've got a new video every Wednesday and Saturday at 9 a.m. Texas time. With that said, thanks again for watching, and most importantly, I hope I catch you back here for more action from the shop.